Bienvenidos a este espacio acerca del TRESI Atlas con la cuenta atrás para mañana, para este 19 de diciembre, el punto, el momento en el que este objeto interestelar va a pasar por su punto más cercano a la Tierra. Enseguida vamos a contarles las últimas horas en este sentido, ya les avisamos mañana con programación especial repasando este momento histórico, también analizando junto a los mejores expertos, pero antes vamos a comenzar con las últimas horas. Vamos a empezar contándoles que el TRESI Atlas, llegado desde el sistema solar, alcanzará este viernes su punto más cercano a la Tierra, unos 270 millones de kilómetros, aunque pasará al doble de la distancia que separa la Tierra del Sol. Su paso es un acontecimiento astronómico que será aprovechado por los mayores telescopios para estudiarlo, pues podría ser un verdadero eslabón perdido de la formación de planetas. El investigador Josep María Trigo Rodríguez del CSIC y del IEC apunta que TRESI Atlas podría ser un objeto pristino que escapó de su sistema planetario hace miles de millones de años. Quizá el cometa más antiguo observado, incluso 3.000 millones de años mayor que el sistema solar. Descubierto el 1 de julio de la órbita de Júpiter por el telescopio Atlas en Chile, este objeto interestelar es el tercer cometa de este tipo detectado tras Oumuamua y Borisov, a pesar de que algunas teorías han circulado. Sus características como el color, la velocidad y la dirección coinciden con lo que esperamos de un cometa, es lo que indicaba por lo menos la NASA estadounidense en su web. Este viajero interestelar podría ser una especie de eslabón perdido, un objeto pristino que escapó de su sistema planetario hace miles de millones de años, es lo que apuntaba el investigador del Instituto de Ciencias del Espacio del Consejo de Investigaciones y del Instituto de Estudios Espaciales de Cataluña, Josep María Trigo Rodríguez. Seguimos mirando a más últimas horas. Les contamos que han descubierto una oscilación periódica en el chorro anticora del objeto interestelar TRESI Atlas, que sugiere que su eje de rotación está prácticamente alineado con la dirección del Sol. Una anomalía altamente improbable. El nuevo artículo por parte de Avi Loeb, por parte del científico de Harvard, informa de la detección de un bombardeo periódico en la chorra de la anticora del objeto interestelar TRESI Atlas durante julio y agosto, lo que podría implicar la base del chorro, que estaría desplazada a menos de 8 grados con respecto a los polos asociados con el eje de la rotación del núcleo. A medida que el núcleo gira, experimenta una precesión a lo largo de un cono que rodea esta rotación. En este sentido, esto sugiere grandes distancias del Sol con el TRESI Atlas, que tendría un lado diurno constante y un lado nocturno que intercambian papeles en el perihelio, debido a que su eje de rotación está casi alineado con la dirección del Sol. Si la base de chorro tiene un origen natural, simplemente proveniente de una bolsa de hielo, podría quedar expuesta a la luz solar. Dicen además que la geometría inferida constituye una nueva 14ª anomalía para TRESI Atlas, sumada a las 13 anomalías enumeradas anteriormente por parte de Avi Loeb. La nueva anomalía se refiere a la baja opción de que este eje de rotación del núcleo de TRESI Atlas esté alineado con un margen de 8 grados respecto a la dirección del Sol, cuando el objeto interestelar se acerca al Sol a una distancia heliocéntrica mayor de 5 veces la separación Tierra-Sol. La opción de que esta alineación ocurra al azar es del 0,05%. Pendientes de todas las últimas horas en torno al TRESI Atlas con la cuenta atrás que ya está activada mañana sobre esta hora con programación especial. Nosotros vamos a seguir con más expertos y les presentamos a Tessa Frink, astrofísica de la Universidad de Michigan. Hi Tessa, thanks for being with us. In Authors TV, it's a pleasure having you here.
Hello, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
We are waiting for TRESI Atlas. Tessa, what is exactly and why is it classified as an interstellar object?
Tierra Atlas is classified as an interstellar object because it's not bound to our solar system. So it's coming in at such a high rate of speed that it can't be brought into orbit around the sun. So it'll simply just fly by us and the sun. So it has what we call a hyperbolic orbit. So it will just keep going and won't be bound to our solar system. And also, it's considered an interstellar object because it was formed and possibly ejected from an extra solar system outside of our own, possibly similar, but from another system.
And Tisa, what is explaining the presence of an anti-tail pointing towards the sun? What can explain this subject?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Tail, everybody's talking about the presence of an anti-tail. Is it pointing towards the sun?
So when it first came into the system, it was pointing, well, when we first detected it, when it was closer to Jupiter, the tail was pointing towards the sun, but we could see in later observations, more like observations we've made in like August and October, we can see that the tail has flipped in the anti-solar direction, which is typical. We've seen more coma morphologies like this before in solar system comets, so this is not something new we're seeing, but it is interesting as we see the coma morphology evolve over time and as it got closer to the sun.
And Tisa, talking about 3I Atlas, what does the recent detection of X-rays mean? What physical processes could be behind it?
I don't know about recent detections of X-rays, but I do know that there has been a lot of spectroscopic measurements, which means we're able to see some of the molecular species that are being outgassed from 3I Atlas. We're seeing a lot of an abundance of CO2, like carbon dioxide, which means that the 3I Atlas has been processed as it travels through the interstellar medium, or as it travels from system to system. It's been processed by galactic radiation, and the abundance of CO2 could mean that the carbon monoxide could be transferred as CO2, which means that which confirms that 3I Atlas is a lot older than our first two interstellar objects on billions of years timescale.
There are some scientists, for example, Avi Loeb, that consider this like an special monitoring. Even they say that it could be, or it couldn't be, natural. What do you think about people, about scientists like Avi Loeb?
I think that there's a lot of discussion about whether 3I Atlas is a comet or not. I think personally that based on all of the evidence we've accumulated since its discovery, we know a lot about that 3I Atlas is a comet. We've seen the extended coma. We've been able to see based on the light reflected off of the coma that we are seeing actual molecules that we've seen in a typical solar system comet. So we're seeing that regular cometary activity. So we know that this object is quote unquote natural. And it's generally not contested based on those observations that it is a comet.
We are talking about 3I Atlas. I would like to ask you about the danger about 3I Atlas. Is there any real risk to the Earth associated with this comet?
No, actually, based on our estimates of its trajectory, it only has a close approach with the sun and Mars, and within like about 2 AU, which is like the distance between the Earth and the sun. So it won't really get close enough to pose any threat to us. So there is no risk of that happening for 3I Atlas.
This subject reignite the public debate about extraterrestrial life or even the extraterrestrial technology.
As far as I know, there's nothing about 3I Atlas that could indicate this. to me, based on what we see from the observations, it is in some ways unusual from our typical solar system comet, but in most ways it is what we expect to see. And as far as I know, there is no indication that there could be any extraterrestrial life involved with 3I Atlas. It's just a rock with some very interesting ices and molecules outgassing that we can use to learn a lot about extrasolar systems.
Talking about the 3I Atlas, the NASA, the ESA here in Europe is talking about the planetary defense exercise. What can you tell us about this?
I'm not sure exactly what ESA and NASA are doing as far as planetary defense, but I know that there is some discussion about how we can better prepare for an interstellar object and its discovery of more interstellar objects as the years go by. As far as a planetary defense plan, of course, we could always think about what interstellar objects role they play in that. And definitely having some kind of technology in place to detect them, something that is specifically built to detect interstellar objects would go a long way with that. I cannot speak specifically for what NASA and ESA have planned, but I would hope that something is in the works for that.
Waiting for 3I Atlas, waiting for tomorrow. Tisha, thanks for being with us here in Authors TV. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Pleasure for having me. Thank you.
Bueno, pues seguimos esperando con esta cuenta atrás, con la programación especial que haremos mañana con el foco puesto en este 3I Atlas, este momento histórico, decisivo, con su paso más cercano a la Tierra. Precisamente hablando de momentos históricos, ayer escuchaban en esta casa a Donald Trump este discurso a la nación centrado en sus logros de este 2025. Vamos a volver a escuchar al presidente de Estados Unidos. Anuncia su agenda de cara al año que viene, 250 aniversario de Estados Unidos. Vamos a escuchar a Donald Trump.
Ever seen for America's 250th anniversary on July 4th next year. Already we've had big celebrations to commemorate the 250th birthdays of the Army, the Navy, and the United States Marines, but there is much, much more to come. We're going to have a good time. As we ring in 2026, Americans across the nation will see the iconic Washington Monument illuminated with festive birthday lights to honor the start of this historic anniversary year. Then from June 25th to July 10th of next year, we will host the Great American State Fair on the National Mall, featuring pavilions from all 50 states, highlighting breathtaking innovations and celebrating America's exceptional history and culture. Frankly, you'll never see anything like it, and you'll never see anything like it again. In the fall, we will host the first ever Patriot Games, an unprecedented 4-day athletic event featuring the greatest high school athletes, one young man and one young woman from each state and territory. But I promise there will be no men playing in women's sports. You're not going to see that. You'll see everything but that. As I first announced in 2020, we will build the National Garden of American Heroes featuring statues of all-time greatest Americans. And we will build a triumphal arc as we celebrate 250 years of American freedom. We are the only major city. We are the only major capital. We are the only major place without a triumphal arc, a beautiful triumphal arc, one like in Paris where they have the a beautiful arc in Paris. They call it the Arc de Triomphe. And we're going to have one in Washington, D.C. very soon. Construction will start in the very near future. And next spring, we will host a major prayer event on the National Mall to rededicate our country as one nation under God. We're not changing that. There are a lot of people who would like to see it. It'll never happen. And on Flag Day, we will have a one-of-a-kind UFC event here at the White House. It'll be the greatest champion fighters in the world, all fighting that same night. The great Dana White is hosting, and it's going to be something special. But all of this is just a beginning. 2026 will be a celebration of America like no other, honoring our nation in all of its glory. To help carry out these exciting plans, we have created a new public-private partnership. It's called Freedom 250. Working with states, companies, and organizations across the country, we will renew the patriotism, pride, and pioneering spirit of America and lay the groundwork for the next 250 years of independence and freedom. This will be a time like you've never had in your lives. America 250. Thank you. I love you all.